Hey, I'm Jusko from ProudMoney.com. I just closed my $30,000 credit line Capital One Savor card, and in this video, I'm going to tell you why. But first, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not already, and if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So I closed down my Capital One Savor Rewards card. Technically, it's still somewhat open because I have to pay my last bill, but I have closed it down now. I got this card about 2 years ago, and at the time that I got the card, there was a $500 bonus opportunity. I think I had to spend $3,000 in order to get that $500 bonus. And the first year had no annual fee, and then a $95 annual fee kicked in. Now, as I'm making this video, when I look on the Capital One website, there is a $300 bonus opportunity versus the $500 that I got at the time, and the $95 annual fee kicks in immediately. So that opening offer was a little more generous back then, and when I got that card, I made a video and I said that I liked this card at no annual fee. It was 4% back on dining purchases and on entertainment purchases and some other things as well. A nice bonus opportunity, and I said, if I can get Capital One to waive that annual fee, that $95 annual fee, when I get to my first anniversary with the card, I will keep the card. And so, despite many naysayers in the comments from that older video when I first got the card, I did get Capital One to waive that annual fee in year 2. So I basically went all of 2019 and all of 2020 without paying an annual fee on this Capital One card with that $500 bonus and getting the 4% on dining. Used it a little bit for some other things, but that was pretty much it. A pretty nice deal for 2 years. And then the other day I noticed that the $95 annual fee had kicked in again here to start year 3 with the card, and I thought to myself, well, Capital One has shown that they really love me, and so I'll just call them up and I'll get that annual fee waived again. So I gave them a call, told them what I wanted, and they said no. They put their foot down and said, we are not going to waive that annual fee for you anymore. So I wasn't shocked exactly, but I was maybe a little bit surprised. I went and looked back at my spending for the last 2 years, and in 2020, or roughly in 2020, there was about $3,000 in spending on the card, but most of that $3 was for restaurant purchases, so I was getting a 4% reward on those purchases. And then in the first year of having the card, I spent about $6,200 with the card, but it was sort of, front loaded in terms of spending a lot to be able to reach the minimum I needed to get that $500 bonus. After I did that, I probably used it about the same amount and mostly on restaurant purchases. So Capital One wasn't making a ton of money off of me because so much of my spending was on those 4% purchases and not on other purchases where the reward was much smaller. In fact, I went back and sort of roughed it out how much I had spent and how much I got in rewards, and I got that $500 bonus, and then I earned about $256 in rewards over the course of those 2 years. So on $9,200 of spending, I got $756 back from Capital One, which, if you thought of that as being the cashback percentage that I earned on all of the purchases that I made over those 2 years, that would be an 8.2% discount or rebate that I got on those purchases. That's good for me, but it's hard to see how Capital One makes any money off of that, so it's no surprise that they weren't willing to waive that annual fee again. But for me, going forward, it didn't make sense to pay that $95 annual fee. Yes, I like the 4% on dining and the 4% on entertainment, but I have other cards with no annual fee that give me 3% on dining. And if you do the math, unless I was spending $10,000 or more on those dining purchases, it wouldn't make sense to pay that $95 annual fee when I had other alternatives. I do like to eat out, but I don't like to eat out $10,000 worth. Now, I said at the beginning of the video that this card had a $30,000 credit line, and I think the obvious question that some people are going to ask is, well, why did you close it? Why didn't you just downgrade to the Capital One Savor One card that doesn't have an annual fee? Then you wouldn't have to pay an annual fee, still get 3% on restaurants and entertainment. And the sort of common advice out there is that you should never close a credit card, because when you close a credit card, you can hurt your credit score. If the card has sort of a lengthy history, that makes the the average age of your accounts longer, and that's better for your credit score. If you have a larger available credit line, like this one obviously does, well, then that means your overall available credit is more, and that means that the credit utilization piece of the credit score also is going to be lower. How much of your credit you are actually using. The more you have, the lower the percentage is going to be of whatever balance you have against that available credit. And that is good advice, especially if you don't have a very long credit history. But for me, I don't care. I do have a long credit history. I have a lot of available credit. I have a high credit score. I can keep my credit utilization low with the amount of available credit I have. And since my history is so long, it's not really going to get significantly shortened by getting rid of a card that I had for 2 years when you compare it to the many credit lines I have had over time. So at worst, I could see this hurting me by 10 points on my credit score. I would be surprised if it is that much. But even if I lost 10 points on my credit score, that's really not going to drop me in terms of the range I'm already in if lenders were to look at my credit score. When your credit history is long enough and good enough, you don't have to follow any conventional wisdom. You can just do what you want. I closed the account because I didn't really want it open, didn't want to have to think about it. I thought that $30,000 credit line they gave me was kind of crazy, and I didn't really want that much available credit from Capital One if I wasn't going to use it, because of the fact that if I go after other cards in the future, I don't want them to think that I have too much available credit. So for me, reducing my overall credit actually seemed like a better idea than increasing it. Plus, once I told Capital One I was going to close the card if they didn't waive the annual fee, and the response was pretty much like, okay, I couldn't really go back on it at that point. That would have been embarrassing. Possibly the only place I could see a potential regret in the future in doing this is, did I burn a bridge with Capital One here? I'm not quite sure. Yes, I spent over $9,000 in those 2 years on their card, but I got an awful lot of goodies for it, and I never even paid an annual fee. So does that sort of, raise a red flag? Am I on a blacklist now from Capital One? I don't know. I guess we'll see in the future. But for me, Capital One doesn't have all that many cards that I'm generally interested in, so unless there's a really great offer, I can handle the fact if Capital One decides they don't want to deal with me in the future. So $30K of available credit wiped away, but I'm okay with that. Although I am going to miss using this shiny card. That is it for this video. Questions, comments, put them in that comment section below. Otherwise, thanks for watching. And as always, please go to proudmoney.com where we do credit card reviews. We talk personal finance, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. Thanks for watching. Bye. So I edited that video down and I realized I was at like maybe 7 minutes 35 seconds, 7 minutes 40 seconds, and that I would need at least another 20 seconds in order to get to 8 minutes, because the way YouTube works as a creator, if I could call myself that, is that you have to be at least at 8 minutes in order to be able to stick an ad in the middle of the video. And since that's how I make money, is through the ads at the beginning and the middle of the video, then maybe at the end of the video, if by some chance you stick around that long, I had to figure out what I was going to do for another 20 seconds to 30 seconds to fill that other space so that we could get to 8 minutes. And so I was thinking to myself that I didn't know what I was going to do. And so I was like, maybe I could do like a tap dance, or I could have like a laser light show, or I don't know. There are a lot of things that went through my mind, but in the end,